Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadusham Tattvamasya Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam. According to UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization, sustainable development begins with education. The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres shares, education is the foundation for inclusive societies. It shapes the minds of people across the world as they fulfill their aspirations, both individual and collective. It is key to resolving many of the global and local challenges we face. We cannot heal a damaged planet, narrow huge inequalities, secure the rights of women and girls, strengthen trust, or build peace without a strong commitment to education. But today, education is in turmoil. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated a pre-existing global learning crisis. We are moving further away from the education and lifelong learning systems we need as set out in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In the face of profound social, political, economic, environmental, and technological change, there's a growing consensus that today's education systems are no longer fit for purpose.
Today, January 24th, is the International Day of Education, as declared by the United Nations. It is the day to recognize both the progress made in closing the gap on global education and the work that needs to be done to ensure everyone has the opportunity to receive a high-quality education. The goal is part of the core foundation of the mission of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. With the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, this program is brought to you by Kailasa UN Mission in collaboration with the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Education Reform and Development. So who is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism? Let us now watch a short video.
Founder of Kailasa, Paramashiva, and his 1008th incarnation, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, is the reviver of Kailasa, the enlightened civilization, the greatest Hindu nation. His Divine Holiness was birthed by his predecessors of enlightened masters, great rishis, munis, siddhas, who predicted and recognized His Divine Holiness Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam as an incarnation of Paramashiva, as per the science of incarnation described in Hinduism. From his first Chaturmasya at the age of 3 in the year 1980 until the age of 16 in the year 1994, the Supreme Pontiff was trained for the revival of Kailasa. He began reviving Kailasa from the age of 16 after the coronation on the 25th May 1994. Kailasa that we see today is 26 years of sincere hard work of the reviver and Hindu diaspora all over the world.
Problems of the modern day humanity, Sanatana Hindu Dharma is solution. Whether the terrorism or climate change, natural calamities or man-made calamities, for all the problems humanity is facing, the only solution is science of living enlightenment, revealed by Paramashiva from the Vedagamas in the modern day through this body. I am a Hindu revivalist, not by any revolution, but by evolution and setting model communities. Understand? Kailasa is reviving the ancient Hindu enlightened civilization. Paramashiva manifested this Kailasa Mandala, the enlightenment ecosystem and the lifestyle. I am going to revive this whole enlightenment ecosystem, Kailasa, by creating a model Kailasas all over the world. I will work sincerely and revive this spiritual science.
Building a nation is not a project accomplished overnight or by virtue of hope. Kailasa is the manifestation of 26 years of sincere hard work, sacrifices, integrity of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasanidanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, and the Hindu diaspora worldwide for the past 26 years for the enlightenment of humanity.
Your hosts for today's program on the International Day of Education are Her Excellency Ma Vijayapriya Nityananda, Permanent Ambassador of Kailasa to the UN, as well as delegates from Kailasa, Ma Nitya Katitananda, Ma Nitya Mahakatitananda, and myself, Ma Nitya Swatantra Priyananda. We warmly welcome each and every one of you as we are all connecting today to reflect on the needs of the modern world when it comes to education and the changes required to the current education system to meet those needs. So we would like to ask you, as a teacher or a parent, what are your concerns when it comes to children's education? As a student, how are you experiencing the changes that have come along with the pandemic when it comes to education? Are changes required in our education system? Do you feel that the current way we are educating children fully prepares them to engage with life? Are children raised to become resilient, innovative, creative, solution-oriented when faced with unexpected crises, such as the pandemic the world is facing today? What is the role of a teacher? And so we encourage you to share your thoughts live on social media throughout this panel discussion.
Now we will introduce the Sri Kailasa United Nations initiatives Now, what is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism specifically doing to achieve the Sustainable Developmental Goal 2030? He has launched 108 humanitarian initiatives, Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations initiatives, to spread the great spiritual truths of Hinduism from its age-old scriptures, the Veda Agamas, all over the world. For instance, Hinduism is a totality of at least 10,000 indigenous traditions and nations. Through Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is working to revive all of these great traditions and uniting nations. Pertaining to education and the preservation of ancient knowledge, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism launched the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations Hindu University, the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations Education Reform and Development, Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Consciousness Studies and Practice, Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Yogic Sciences, Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Enlightenment, Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Protection of Ancient Scriptures, Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Feminine Empowerment and Gender Equality, and Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Revival of Blissful Community, Ecosystem, and more.
Thank you, Ma Mahakadita. So these Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations initiatives directly align to the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which is quality education, which is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So one of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's numerous efforts towards the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goal 4 is through the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for the protection of ancient scriptures. This is the foundation of Kailasa's Nithyananda Paramashivam, and this word means in English library. So this Hindu library, it's the world's largest center of source scriptures. Not many know of this. It's the world's largest center of manuscripts and books on Hinduism, dedicated to locate, acquire, collect, organize, preserve, and spread the knowledge of the Veda Agamas, sharing 20 million Hindu texts with the world. Kailasa's Nithyananda Hindu Library provides source knowledge to bring spiritual legitimacy, religious legitimacy, social legitimacy, cultural legitimacy, historic, economical, and political legitimacy to Sanatana Hindu Dharma. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has made this knowledge free, available free to all digitally, following the Hindu principle that knowledge should be made available to all free of cost.
One of the Supreme Pontiffs of Hinduism's numerous efforts towards the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 through the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Feminine Empowerment and Gender Equality in the context of education is the revival of the 10,000 ancient enlightened matrilineal lineages of Hinduism through the establishment of a women-only university funded and administered only by women for women. The Supreme Pontiffs of Hinduism's work for women empowerment and gender equality is directly aligned to the sacred Hindu scriptures, which emphasize the vital role scholarly women play in the society. The Rig Veda says, "O scholarly women, the entire life of society depends upon you. You provide us the right knowledge. May you bring knowledge to all segments of the society."
So why is Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations necessary for a sustainable future? The best way to answer this question is to look at the state of the world when it comes to education. And so we will be presenting the global picture in 2 segments. First, pre-COVID world, and second, post-COVID world. So first, pre-COVID world. When it comes to literacy, large inequalities remain globally, notably between sub-Saharan Africa and the rest of the world. In Burkina Faso, Niger, and South Sudan, the African countries at the bottom of the rank, literacy rates are still below 30%. Data collected in 2014 reveals that at that time, 263 million children were out of school. This figure has fallen by almost 120 million since 1998, falling from 380 to 263 million. However, progress slowed in the last few years. Globally, there are more girls out of school at primary level than boys, 32 million versus 29 million. At lower and upper secondary, the number of boys out of school is higher than for girls, 31 million versus 29 million at lower secondary, and 73 million versus 69 million at upper secondary. The gender ratio of school attendance is country and region specific. On aggregate, for sub-Saharan Africa, for example, more girls are out of school at all levels.
Post-COVID-19. In mid-June, schools were closed in more than 160 countries, affecting over 1 billion students. At least 40 million children worldwide have missed out on education in their critical preschool year. Parents, especially women, has been forced to assume heavy care burdens in the home. Despite the delivery of lessons by radio, television, and online, and the best efforts of teachers and parents, many students remain out of reach. Learners with disabilities, those in minority or disadvantaged communities, displaced and refugee students, and remote areas are at the highest risk of being left behind. And even for those who can access distance learning, success depends on their living conditions, including the distribution of domestic duties. More than 250 school-aged children were out of school, and only a quarter of secondary school children in developing countries were leaving school with basic skills.
So these facts are quite alarming, and according to the United Nations, we now face a generational catastrophe that could waste untold human potential, undermine decades of progress, and exacerbate entrenched inequalities. So with an estimated 20 years of education gains wiped out by COVID-19, and learning rates and participation in organized learning drastically reduced, where do we go from here? Hinduism has the solution. The Gurukul, the Hindu knowledge transmission system, is the solution to the current state of urgency, which is why the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for the last 27 years has been relentlessly working on its revival through the Nithyananda Gurukul. So what is Gurukul? Gurukul means Guru's home. The Gurukul is the ancient traditional Hindu education system in which the transmission of knowledge occurs directly from the Guru to the student through a sacred process of initiation by the Guru or Master, creating enlightened beings. So how is the Gurukul education system the solution for a sustainable future? We will now hear more from Ma Vijayapriya.
Thank you, Markatita. So the Gurukul education system prepares one for life in all dimensions and encourages specialization. Gurukul provides everything needed for life, covering all dimensions. The basic Ayurveda knowledge, basic archery to protect yourself, basic business to run the business or administer, a basic critical thinking and decision making, and basic truths required about enlightenment and life. Few things are basic for everyone, like the science of completion and enlightenment. Other than science of enlightenment, all other things, the guru or master selects the subject in which the student will be successful, and then the student is trained specifically in those fields with the knowledge of enlightenment, with the science of enlightenment, with the truth of enlightenment as the context. So not only are children given the freedom to specialize, they are groomed into their chosen field of specialization and completely supported by society. Hindu history carries so many examples of how the Gurukul education has led to the emergence of the greatest experts in all fields. For example, Arjuna emerging as the greatest archer, Bhima emerging as the greatest wrestler, Sahadeva emerging as the greatest astrologer, etc. And how does specialization lead to a sustainable future? The emphasis put on specialization creates the most sustainable, stable, and prosperous society, as every member of the society takes up the responsibility based on their natural predispositions and aspirations. This social structure is one of the main pillars of Hinduism, the Varna Ashrama Dharma.
Thank you, Mavijay Priya. Also, in the Gurukul system, Guru's presence is required, as it is the Guru who guides the student to discover his or her prarabdha, the purpose of one's birth, which leads to the realization of one's highest possibility. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism shares, learning to upgrade yourself is what is usually done in Gurukuls. When you come back from the long trip, first thing your Guru does is making you understand your prarabdha, the software which already exists in your computer. Then, teaching you the science of downloading the new software required to fulfill your life. Upgrading your old software if you want to do something new, then finally supporting you to fulfill your prarabdha. So how does the realization of one's prarabdha lead to a sustainable future? This realization and fulfillment of one's prarabdha benefits the whole of humanity, as each being achieves their peak potential and contributes to the society for that highest space of possibility. Operating from one's highest space of possibility leads to the most non-violent, life-positive results which benefit all.
The Gurukul education system is designed to bring global peace, as a context for anything taught in Gurukul is always enlightenment. Our rishis were very clear. Education should always be for peace. That is why in the Shanti Mantra, the peace declaration is chanted at the beginning of every class. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism shares, even if you learn archery, enlightenment is the context. If you study administration, enlightenment is the context. If you learn about business, enlightenment is the context. If you learn about plumbing, building houses, sculpting. Enlightenment is the context. Hindu education system is more of a transmission of the knowledge, not transfer of the knowledge. It is not just information based. So how does having enlightenment as a context for education lead to a sustainable future? Living enlightenment means following ahimsa, nonviolence, and Advaita, oneness with all beings. This means that Gurukul education directly leads to the peaceful coexistence with all beings, a violence-free world.
So why is the Gurukul education system mandatory even for incarnations in the Hindu tradition? And I think this is a question that a lot of us would love to know the answer for. And it says, Lord Krishna and Lord Ram both went to Gurukul. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam himself received the Gurukul education directly from his masters. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism explains, Gurukul is required. Gurukul is an important factor that makes incarnations complete. Otherwise, you will never know the authenticity of your experiences. You will never be able to reproduce that same experience on others as a science. Gurukul is compulsory for anybody who happens in the Vedic tradition. So now that we have set the context for how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's revival of the Gurukul education system through the Nityananda Gurukul is directly intertwined with the welfare of humanity in all fields, let us now go deeper into our understanding by watching a short video in which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism reveals the most important secret about the Hindu education methodology.
In Hinduism, the whole education methodology, I'm giving you the most important secret. In Hinduism, this is the way the education is done. This is the most important, powerful secret. See, first, the person's inner space consciousness is awakened, sharpened, purified. Then he is given field, each field, like, all right, now you work on cosmos, you work on biology, you work on consciousness, you work on gravitation force. But before that, first 21 years, he is given the highest powerful Chit Jata Granthi. Listen. The bonding between consciousness and matter. The best Chit Jata Granthi is done inside the child by the pure brahmacharya, making the child master the body and mind, extremely inspired, intelligent, conscious, I tell you. Nothing need to be done other than making the child master his system and providing best Chit Jata Granthi. That connection not between the consciousness and matter should be the best. If that is done to the child within 21 years, done. Any field that child enters will master the field. Understand? It's not my pride. I am not claiming this as my pride. With deep sorrow, unfortunately, one side, I will say, fortunately, I am able to do that for our Nithyananda Gurukul. Other side, unfortunately, nowhere else this possibility is being done. Understand? That is why they want to somehow destroy the last lamp, last flame which is alive. They know, I know the master science. The anti-Hindu elements, the abusers, they know, I know the master science. If I am left to live, if I am left to be alive, I will revive the whole thing. Understand? I know the science of producing rishis. So, each child will become a rishi and download the shastras. Analyze them. Understand? Why do you think I am collecting all the scriptures which is left to live? Why do you think I am collecting everything? Because I know I already successfully produced at least 200 kids whose consciousness is now alive. They may not have reached enlightenment, but the best Chit Jata Granthi I am providing for them. The conscious, the connection between the matter and consciousness in their system. I am providing the best. Understand?
Yes. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, beautifully explained how Hindu education is the science of producing rishis by making the child master their system, the body and mind, making them extremely inspired, intelligent, conscious, which leads to the ability to master any field. So who are the rishis? The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism reveals they were so highly evolved, so free of worries, all their survival needs were fulfilled and they were in such high space. In Sanskrit, Rishi is defined as mantra drashta, who sees mantra. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism explains, not the one who writes mantra or listens to the mantra, no, the one who sees mantra means when you are experiencing, always even the sound will be perceived by the eyes. If the sound is heard by the ears, you're hearing. If the sound is perceived by all five senses, you're experiencing. This was by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam.
And Hindu history reveals the vital role played by the enlightened rishis in the preservation of the science of enlightenment on planet Earth. One example, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has spoken on the Upanishad rishis, explaining how when the rishis sat within them in samadhi, their whole being started vibrating, reverberating with the sacred cosmic truths. Those few beings who raised themselves to vibrate in the very frequency of the cosmos the very frequency of the Brahman, universe, they actually disappeared into that. When they disappeared into that, whatever truths they received, whatever truths oozed out of them, expressed through them, that got recorded as Upanishads.
The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's revival of the science of power manifestation as per Hinduism. Lord Paramashiva reveals in the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, Sutra 113, Dharana 87. Sampradayamimam Devi Shrunu Samyak Vadhamyaham Kaivalyam Jayate Sadyo Netreyo Stabdha Matrayoho. O Devi, listen to this sacred tradition. I shall reveal it to you vividly, completely. Just keep your eyes completely wide open. Do not see or perceive anything by simply keeping it fixed with a steady gaze on the reality within. By this, the state of aloneness, Kaivalya, the oneness that expresses as extraordinary powers and experiences will occur immediately.
As of now, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has initiated his students into the 463 extraordinary powers of Paramashiva. The powers or Shaktis are time-tested and foolproof, each one established in these four Pramanas. Number one, the Shastra Pramana, the source scriptures of Hinduism. Number two, Apta Pramana, the authorities of Hinduism, the Vedic rishis and scientists who time-tested and verified the sciences. Number three, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's Atma Pramana, the accounts of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, this millennium's avatar's own experience of the powers. And number four, the Sakshi Pramana, the experiences of millions of disciples, devotees, and followers initiated into the science of power manifestation by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
And to give you a concrete example of this power, let us take the power of Sarvanyatva, the power of all knowingness in all its fullness, which can take many forms, such as the ability to translate unknown foreign languages, the power of describing unknown topics, the power to download unknown slokas, and the power of quantum memory, or the power to recall large amounts of information in a short period of time, and many others. And there's a beautiful Shastra Pramana or scriptural reference from the Sarvanyotara Agama, verse 15, which says, within such a yogi who establishes himself in absolute non-dual oneness with Lord Shiva, and who keeps himself free from all sorts of differentiating notions, the exalted superpower of all knowing, Sarvanyatvam, gets unfolded in all its fullness.
And the scriptural reference that we have to show that these powers were very real is from the Valmiki Ramayana Balakanda Sarga 4, the Apta Pramana, which says that Lava and Kush, the two sons of Lord Rama, learned 24,000 verses of the Ramayana from sage Valmiki in a very short time and recited them.
And on his own experience of the power of Sarvanyatva, his very Atma Pramana, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism relates, what Paramashiva shared with me, it was like intense cosmic downloading happening. One day, I was looking at him so deeply. Literally, everything he was revealing was getting into my system. So deep, like if he utters one word, like a condensed 1 petabyte material, information will be transferred into my system.
And now we have the Sakshi Pramana, which are the experiences and results of the extraordinary manifestation happening through the initiated disciples of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. On January 22nd, 2022, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revealed that his Balasant has mastered the Panini Mahabhasya after receiving initiation. Less than 100 people in the world have mastered this Panini Mahabhasya. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, on January 22nd, revealed this. And the Panini Mahabhasya is the foundation of knowledge. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism shares that the Panini Sutras is not just grammar on Sanskrit. He says, if you study that book, you will know how to create grammar for any language. You can just create a language. Revealed on December the 14th, 2010. And other accomplishments in the Gurukul includes today on January the 24th, on the occasion of the International Education Day, we now share more examples of the extraordinary accomplishments which happen in children as a result of the Nithyananda Gurukul and receiving direct initiation from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. 50% of children 1 to 3 years ahead of their grades, giving the class X board exams before 15 years. 35% of children have IQ scores above 130, which is a gifted category as per the Slauson IQ score. The quantum memory activation is rapidly moving towards recalling verbatim after single hearing, called Ekashantagrahi in the Vedic age, and awakening yogic powers such as communing with and commanding nature to cause rain and rose plants to drop their thorns. And 30% of children spontaneously play musical instruments without formal lessons. And 100% of children produce creative temple arts like deity making, alankar, which is deity decoration, and planning and building children's temples, making deity jewelry and art. And 100% of children organize and conduct their own temple rituals around the year.
Thank you, Mama Hakatita. Next slide, please. Thank you. Through the Nithyananda Gurukul, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the science of power manifestation as per Hinduism, bringing spiritual legitimacy to Hinduism, which is the most important because Hinduism has the power to solve the problems the world is facing today. For example, the power of body scanning to identify the cause of diseases is aligned to the Sustainable Development Goal of the UN, goal number 3, which is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. For example, the power of connecting with nature and manifesting rain, ensuring the well-being of the environment, is aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 15 to sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. The power of manifesting rose plants dropping their thorns is the direct expression of a violent-free inner space, aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 16 to promote just, peaceful, and inclusive societies.
So as we close today's presentation on the International Day of Education, we would like to thank each of you for being here. Please feel free to place your comments in the live YouTube chat. We would love to hear your feedback. And we do hope that you would have gained a greater understanding and appreciation for Hinduism and the science of the Hindu knowledge transmission system. How the revival and the very survival of this system is not only good, but it is necessary in the world today. And there's a beautiful quote from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, that we would like to share. And he says, the Hindu knowledge transmission is totally different from anything known to the world by the name of education. Nithyananda Hindu University is reviving Hindu knowledge transmission system. And this is from Bhagwan himself, dated the 15th of December, 2018. So the Hindu knowledge transmission system is a living, working, practical, and successful example of how an educational system, which focuses on the individual realizing his or her highest potential and life's purpose, it brings a vibrant and life-positive system, which is not cookie cutter, nor limited to the walls of a classroom, nor to any age, nor any region. It is a system which is not limited to the mind, but rather expands the many dimensions of one's own consciousness, recognizing each being as unique and divine. A system which is being revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, to support the humanity by nurturing the blossoming of enlightened beings, beings who are grounded, beings who are peaceful, powerful, confident, genius, responsible, and mature leaders of tomorrow. This is what is absolutely necessary to create a more peaceful, just, resilient, thriving, and sustainable future. So thank you so much once again, and we will now close with the Purna Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tatsat. Sarvam Bhagavat Shri Nithyananda Paramashiva Parukar Pranamastu. Om Nithyananda.
The moment you decide, your consciousness is the supreme identity you have. You will not empower your depression, your frustration, deal your problems, whether it is simple headache or depression or the worst suicidal patterns or life negativity, only through consciousness. Don't go for any other solution. Don't keep stupid, toxic, life negative struggles inside. consciousness as power at this moment to swallow, digest, clean up all negativity and all toxins. Develop a powerful will persistence. That's the most important asset for life. I am not giving you some life positive blah blah. I am giving you the facts of life. I am triggering your consciousness. Time itself is nothing but your decision to struggle with the same rut. Your decision to struggle with the same rut is time, Kala. Your decision to swallow time is Kala Bhairava. Stand. Be a conscious woman or man. Be conscious being. Shrink the time through conscious will persistence. Make the future into present by being ferocious with yourself. I am your Guru. I will make you enlightened. It's my commitment. Till you become Paramashiva, I won't rest. Don't worry at all. To all my disciples, I give you this as a boon. I'll swallow everything with which you are stuck and liberate you all. greater signs of life can be realized with a greater ability to visualize. Greater science is the equivalent word for Hinduism. More bliss. When you visualize Paramashiva with 25 heads, 75 eyes, 50 hands, your consciousness becomes ferocious, and that ability to visualize, you will get involved in everything deeply.